this week's Echodrops. It's from yours truly. And I want to talk to you about labels. Have you ever thought of yourself as being this person with many labels? I'm very shy, I'm not good at maths, I'm okay at tennis, I'm not very good at public speaking, I am an introvert, etc, etc, etc. One of the things I want you to recognize is that these are all labels. Either self-imposed, societal imposed, or probably even imposed from the haunting past, where you might have had someone say this to you and you started believing that about yourself. Could be teachers, parents, someone who was a friend, a foe. And to help better drive this point, I want to use an analogy. The analogy is that of a canister in your pantry. Let's say the canister has been labeled spices. One day, you reach the bottom of the canister and the spices are all done and dusted. And now at the back of the pantry, you see that there's a bag of salt and it's threatening to just ooze out given its weight and, gravity. And you look around for an empty canister, but you find none. But then what you do is you try and take this canister that's been previously labeled spices. You try and rip the label off and you're left with a gooey, sticky, icky mess. And then you slap another label on top of it and say salt, and you pour the salt. And then the next time you find another condiment because the salt's come to an end, but you need to fill this particular previously spices, now salt, future to be condiment. And what happens is the cycle continues. And something similar is what happens with you. We tend to be very conformed to the labels we create for ourselves. But what we don't understand is that the labels that we create for ourselves are actually boundaries. And not limitless boundaries, limited boundaries. We create a wall, a barrier, and we say that I have this label, I have that label, this is how I am, this is where I'm weak, this is how I was raised, and this is what I need to do. Acknowledging what you carry, acknowledging your potential, acknowledging your limits, your weaknesses and your strengths, as long as they're acknowledgements, they're great. But if you start recognizing them as the final attributes to yourself, therein lies the problem. Because you see, just like those labels, it limits growth. You feel stuck. Somewhere down the line, you might have been this person who says, I wish I could go up to my boss, like my friend, and just say, I've been putting so much work into things. Why haven't you given me that raise? Or like this cousin of mine just picked up and left and started their own business. Even though it was risky, even though it was scary, but they had the ability to do that. They had trust, they had faith, and they were scared. I wish I could do that. And guess what? You could. It's only the labels that are stopping you. The labels stop you from reaching your true potential, from reaching your full growth. The only way you can get rid of those labels is to be aware that you firstly carry them. Now, I know a lot of us take for granted how we have become who we are, but that doesn't go to stop you from becoming who you want to be. Trust me, I come from a place of heavily having an imposter syndrome, especially when I was writing my first book. And I just thought, who am I to write a book? I'm not an author. Sure, I write some poetry. Sure, I read a lot of books, but that doesn't automatically translate into being an author. But then I asked myself, and of course, I met this wonderful coach. What's stopping me from being an author? I mean, even the authors weren't born authors. They became authors. So why can't I become an author? And trust me, with a lot of inner work, I got there. And I wrote the book, and I published the book, and it was well appreciated. So how can we go about this? My suggestion, I'd like you to do a little exercise. Whenever you're free, whenever you're calm, rested, and stress-free, take a sheet of paper and just note down a label, or labels, the top 5 or 10, let's say, that come to mind. And if you're feeling curious, go a step further and try and decipher the origin of those labels. Were they self-imposed? Were they societal imposed? Did they come from your childhood? Is there something that you just developed on the go because it was easy? It was convenient to not face reality and do something, so you created a label for yourself? And doing all of this can be overwhelming, so maybe tackle one label at a time. But the fun part of the exercise, and I really want you to do this part, is I want you to look at your labels And I want you to think about the fact that if I didn't have these labels, what would I have done differently?